Hello, everyone, and welcome to RVN TV's Off the Bench. I am your host, Nehemiah Davila from neopositivity.com, and today we're going to be talking about an Eat, Pray, Love situation. I actually like that movie where Julia Roberts traveled across the world and, found herself. She found real meaning, the true meaning of life, and all that other stuff. And my guest today is a personal development coach and motivational speaker, and she kind of did the same thing. Everyone welcome Chani Mehlman. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Neo.
Great. Chani is coming to us via Skype from Israel, long ways away. Why don't you tell us a little bit of background about yourself, how you got out there, all that good stuff.
Well, I guess it's my life story, right?
Yeah,
As a teenager, what was that, Neo?
I said that's your resume right there.
Exactly. Yeah, your experience really is your resume. As a teenager, I guarantee anybody, you go through difficult times and stuff. I actually always found myself giving advice to friends. Friends were always coming to me for advice. And when I was 16, actually, I remember thinking that I had wanted to be a life coach. But I was 16. I remember I was like, yeah, I'm a kid. And then when I was 18, the opportunity came again, but I was a little bit busy that year. And then when I was 19, actually, that's when someone had brought the idea of, hey, Connie, what about being a life coach? And I was like, that's actually a great idea. So I looked into the course, and then I started to do it. And to be honest, it came very naturally to me, actually, just because of the things I had been through in my past and people always wanting to talk to me.
So you were born in the States, right?
Yes, Maryland.
And you traveled to Israel?
Yes, I traveled to Israel.
Now, what made you choose that place?
When I was 18, I went for a gap year. Now, in that gap year, it was a very amazing experience that I had. It was mind-blowing and also mind-opening. What happened that year was I went to a school. We learned a lot about philosophy, comparative religion courses, and I had a lot of mentors that I actually was really able to look up to, and it was something that I didn't really have as a teen growing up and as an adolescent, young adult, and that really changed my life.
You know what? It makes me think to live doesn't mean you're alive. And I remember when we spoke on the phone, you told me that you hadn't really felt alive. And that's the thing that a lot of people right now think they're feeling life, but they're not. They're just going through the rat race of life, bills, work, home. Once a year you take a vacation. To live doesn't mean you're alive. Now, when and how did you get your alive feeling?
It's an amazing question, Neo. And most people don't even realize that, living isn't feeling alive. So there's actually two parts to this that I want to talk about. There's feeling alive. I began to feel alive when I started to act on my values. Having values is so crucial to our well-being. Our values really, are everything. When I was actually abroad in Israel for that first year when I was 18, that was the first time that I actually was able to look up to people and to learn values from people that I really respected and looked up to. And that's when I learned what a value is. A value is something that we is a principle or a standard we live by, and it carries importance and value to us. Carries importance and worth to us. And when we can see that we really deserve the things that we value and we can really act on and implement it into our life, it's then we begin to feel alive. And I can't even tell you, just existing is not doing that, because the line between existing and living is really implementing your values.
Now, how did you find your true value? And it's going to segue to my next question, which is the community. I know that people around you, social media, that affects how we feel about ourselves. But we did that in a second. How did you find your value? Was it over in Israel? Was it through your traveling?
That's another great question. So I found my values actually the year I came back from Israel. I'll tell you what happened is that year in Israel, I had lots of classes and lots of amazing teachers that I loved, and I really just discussions, lots of ideas were discussed, and we talked a lot about values as well and ways of life that different people live and all that kind of stuff. When I came back to America, I just figured I'd go back to my regular life. I had a nice year abroad. It was a gap year, time to start college. But then I realized I'm in the same place I grew up my entire life, But people here live very differently than they did over in Israel. And people just had different ways of thinking, just different ways of living. That comes to culture a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what I had gained from the teachers and just looking up to them and, having real mentors, I learned values. And when I started to implement those values, it wasn't easy, because by really standing for what I believe in, there were friends that my ideas may have clashed with. And, then those people don't feel as close to you anymore, and it becomes harder to connect.
Mm-hmm.
But and that was difficult, because, people that are good friends, and then all of a sudden you're not connecting as much. That's not easy. Most people in a situation, and I myself have done this as well, you just kind of go back and say, oh, well, you know what, I don't need to listen to what I believe in. I'd rather be her friend. Let's go out and do something, that I really don't want to be doing right now. But I said, no, I'm going to listen to myself, and I'm going to make myself a new set of friends that share the values that I do. And I'm going to live the life that I really want. And that's what I did. And that's really how I, became. I think the question was how I began to become alive again, right?
And find your true value.
Find my true value. So that's how I did. It's by seeing the difference, from what I had learned, and also to have the mentors help me to find the true value.
Now, it's funny you say all that. I had to cut out a few people out of my life, and it was hard. These are friends, these are close friends, people you've been with for years, but if they can't change their ways, and they're dragging you down, which means you and your family, whether you have kids, spouse, or whatever, they're dragging you down. And
Right.
And it sucks to get rid of dead weight, especially when you love and care about them, but you got to do what you got to do to survive. You got to do what you got to do to thrive and eat and, take care of your kids. It's a decision you got to make. Got to make it. We're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk about addiction. Chani did some addiction counseling, worked with some codependencies that has to do with finding your self-value. We're going to get into all that when we get back from the commercial break right here on Off the Bench.
Love my style, I'm dancing tonight. My smile from pearly white side. Love myself, love my style. Pearly white, love your smiles. From teens to grown-ups faces, they can change your life. All ages and all faces, your smile from pearly white. Love yourself, love your style. Pearly white, love your smile.
For independent living for seniors age 62 and over, People Inc. offers safe, maintenance-free apartments across Western New York. The affordable rent is income-based. For more information, call People Inc. Senior Living at 817-9090.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union.
To talk about true
Hello, everyone.
self-responsibility.
Hold on a second, Chani. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Off the Bench. I'm Neo Positivity, and Chani is anxious to tell us some more about, we were just talking about on the commercial break, codependencies, addiction, and, the false self versus the true self. But what were you getting ready to say, Chani?
Oh, I would respond to you. I don't remember what I was going to say.
That's cool. No, I wanted to talk about, you studied addiction, and
Yes.
Addiction being a codependency that's spawning from you having an inaccurate perception of your true self, of who you are, false perception. Can you get into that and how you get that across to your clients and how you guys work at, progressing from that?
Wow, what a great. I say to every question, but I love all the questions.
They're all great questions, of course.
They really are. They're all, because they're so important. It's very, very true. Okay, so for me, I grew up acting from my false self, which is another way of saying, acting from a place of codependency. There's two different places that we can act from. One is our true self, and the other is our false self. So how do you know if you're acting from your true self or from your false self? Your false self is when you're just kind of acting from, I guess, the messages that people have given to you over time. You don't feel alive. That's how a big clue to know that you're not being your true self and that you're acting from your false self. And it's, you may have negative thoughts about yourself, negative thoughts about, what could come from your actions. I'm bad. Oh, I should try harder even though I gave it everything I could. Oh, I'm still not perfect enough. Those are all examples of thoughts that would come from the false self. Mm-hmm. And from our thoughts, that's when we act. And then on the other hand, our true self, that's when we feel alive, we're authentic, we're genuine, and we're creative, and we just feel so ourselves and in our element. When we're growing up, and it could be from family members, it could be from friends, it could even be a friend that you had in school growing up had a parent that affected them, and then they affected you as a kid. It could be from anywhere, it could be from the community you're in, that there's so many messages that we're given. Now, these messages that we're given, they can really harm us. And, it's kind of like an unspoken rule in a sense. And these are trains of thoughts that we're told to believe, and it's for sure true. And if you go against the rule, it's a huge deal to the people around you. May it be a principal, may it be a teacher, a parent, a family member, a community member, it could be anybody. And we end up living by those rules. The thing, though, is not all the time are these rules or messages that we're given for benefit. And sometimes it can really get to the worst of us, and we act from our full self because we maybe want to make someone happy, make someone proud. It could be like, you're not doing enough, you're not good enough. And these are things, and I've been through it myself, and I've been there, and I work with people who are currently going through that. And it's really tough because, on the one hand, we don't know anything else. And that's one of the things I see a lot with my clients is, and we really just don't know. And that's the difficulty in it, is being able to find a new message to tell ourselves and a new way of thinking and believing, and that we can really act from. And then also, when we are acting from our false self, we're not able to have the clarity to find our values. We find our values by having good mentors, and having good mentors, they can teach us things, or if we see something in them that we like, and maybe it's a little bit out of the box sometimes, but hey, we're all individuals, and that's the beauty of everyone being different. And when we're stifled from our childhood, from even in adolescence, but even as adults, this can happen. Maybe in the workspace there's something that's being, I'll go to say demanded of you, and that message that they're telling you have to be this, and then we don't learn from the people we really want to learn from. We don't, become like the people we really do look up to, and it's then that we acting from our false self, and we're not going to feel alive. How do I work on my clients? How do I help my clients with this? What I do with a lot of them is, I point out, the different negative thoughts that they have, and also to ask them where that came from. How come you believe that about yourself? And I'll tell them, because I don't see it that way. And, to really get to the feeling, and, when you were making sure that your homework was done completely perfectly, and that the behavior for school was complete perfectly. Now, I've only asked someone that I know is having a difficult time with perfectionism, and say, what was it? What was the feeling that you had that was telling you this must be perfect? And then eventually we'll get back to the feeling inadequate that, from their childhood they felt inadequate. And we'll sit with that feeling and, take the time to heal it. And feeling is healing.
I want to cut in real quick and say this. Everyone needs to understand that a lot of things in life are working against us, okay? And up here, as well as out there, I always say you got to protect yourself from threats both foreign and domestic. Right now, we're talking about the domestic ones. False self is a couple different things. Like she said, somebody brought you, if you were raised a certain way to believe something, and that's not you, that's false self. And then you got the ego. When you try to picture yourself on the beach and the ego steps in and says, you're not on the beach, you're sitting in the studio right now. You don't have the money for that. You know what it would take for you to get that? What are the chances of you getting that? That happens a lot with a lottery ticket. You want to feel what I'm talking about right now? Go buy a lottery ticket. And right as you're reading the numbers, you're going to feel something. All the voices, the statistics of how many times people have won, how many times you've won, all these stats and everything's going to go on in your mind. That's the false self. That's the ego. That's just so many different things working against you. And it's like life is one big test. Can you stay positive in the face of the negative? Not all day, but each moment at a time. Can you stay positive in the face of the negative, in the face of the false self? And that's a real big negative, Chani, because the false self is like, it's not just coming in and telling you things. It's hitting you with statistics. It's hitting you with facts that you know to be true. So it's double hard to get through that. But you got no choice. You can either succumb to it and say, yeah, you're right, I'm not ever going to be anything. Or you can say, bump that. I control this. And that's what people got to understand. You're in control of your life. Thoughts become things. What you focus on the most in life will grow. So if you're focusing on what you don't have, what you can't do, you get more of what you don't have and what you can't do. And that's the big thing. You know, that's the really, really big thing. So you were saying how you coach your people to defeat that false voice, because it's not going anywhere. That's the one thing about it, it's not going anywhere. So I've decided to coach my people to understand it and learn it more. If you have an opponent that's going to keep coming because it's just part of you and part of the way you're programmed, learn about it. If that's all you can do, learn about it. And if it's going to affect you the same way every time, change yourself so the outcome's different. That's the only thing you can change. Change yourself in the way you think. The way the outcome will be different. Something new I'm working on. You know, I'm going to be releasing it soon on neopositivity.com. But yeah, that whole egoic mind frame, it's big. It's big. And it's always working against you. You know, and we're going to take a quick commercial break and hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk to Chani about some of the parenting mistakes. There's some things that parents are instilling on us that are not beneficial. When we come back, we're going to be talking all about that right here on Off the Bench.
Near you.
Assurance. It's a word, a touch, a look that sparks a feeling. Peace of mind. That everything will be all right. These are the moments that inspire us to do more than you'd ever expect from a car insurance company at a price that's less than you'd expect. This is more than just insurance. This is Plymouth Rock Assurance. Visit us at PlymouthRock.com.
Hey everybody, this is Rich Bradley. I got a new show coming on RVN TV. It's called Downbeat. We'll be talking all about the music industry, the music scene. So check it out. We'll be on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock. Hope to see you then.
Imagine the finest hand-selected USDA prime steak you'll ever have. The freshest line-caught seafood, our Wine Spectator award-winning wine list, and soul-satisfying desserts. Bring that together with the perfect date, the winning business deal, a memorable family celebration.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Off the Bench. I'm Nehemiah Davila, aka Neo Positivity, here with Chani Mehlman all the way from Israel via Skype. And we were just talking about parenting and some of the things that parents are instilling in children young and training it, beating into their minds growing up. But there are things that might not be beneficial for the children. It might not, nobody's saying you're a bad parent. Maybe you were raised to believe a certain thing, but we need to stop the cycle now. That's the only way we can stop the cycle, is to acknowledge it, talk about it, get through it, and stop the cycle. Chani, can you give us some of the things that you might have experienced or you got from your clients over the years that maybe the parents could have eased back on a little bit?
Sorry, what was the last part of the question? That the parents could ease back on?
Yeah, just ease back a little bit on that one thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like things that they're drilling home that might not be beneficial. Like, for example, I know a lot of parents want you to just go get a nice factory job somewhere, making, minimum wage, a little bit above that, and take one vacation a year until you retire at 65. And heck no, I am so against that. So, give us something like that you've encountered yourself or from your clients.
So something that the parents can ease back on, I'm going to actually answer this in the positive, if you don't mind. I'm going to flip the question around. What can the parents do differently to give, is that okay, Neo?
Of course, all positivity all day, every day.
Okay, great. Acceptance. That is the only answer I have. You need to accept your kids and to, so importantly, see them for who they are. So it's one of the hardest things is, to differentiate between, this is me and this is my needs, what I want, and that's what my kid wants. And as parents, I'm not a parent myself, but I know many parents and I've worked with lots of people. And one of the problems that parents face is being able to differentiate themselves from their children, and they want what they want for themselves for their kids. And there's a lot to say about this, but I'm going to sum it up in, just a minute here. Everybody has basic needs that need to be met. When a person's needs are not being met, as a parent, they're going to try to push that onto their kids without realizing it, because they have the best intentions in the world, and it's really hurting the kid because it's stifling them because they're not able to grow up to be themselves. So just the only answer I have for that is acceptance and to really see them for who they are.
Now, it takes me back to the bakery owner who is desperately trying to get his child to take over the family business when they're really into IT or they really want to pursue their dream elsewhere. And they actually make them feel bad. And they beat them into their head. Like it's the classic, New York style story. You were involved in something like that?
Something similar. The core is similar.
The core. Go ahead, give it to me, because that's what made me think of it when you were telling me your story about women who were put down by their parents for trying to find who they are.
Yes. So basically, when I was growing up, I grew up very similar to a lot of people who are going to be watching this. Your parents want you to go to college to get a good education. And of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting that for your child. However, I was told by different people in my life, family members, community members, and that you have to go to college. And if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to be smart. You're going to, I don't know anymore, just that you're not gonna end up in a good place, that's for sure.
That's what I was told.
And that's not true. And it's so not true. It's important to be a hard worker and know yourself, but I think after you get to know yourself, learn your skills, and find a passion, which can be done very early on in life. It doesn't have to be, like much later on. For everybody, it's different. I think the shortcut to really being able to find your passion and pursue it, whether it be through the college system or a different system, it's so important to find what you love, what makes you happy, and what gives you purpose. And that's by being connected to yourself, knowing how you feel from just interacting with the world.
And find other coaches. Find a coach. For one, you are not in this alone. For two, you don't know everything. Find yourself a life coach. I don't care if you got to do free consultations with 6 different coaches. If you come out on top with some great advice, then that's what you got to do. I hate to throw it out there like that, but most of the people I deal with, this is how I figure it. I think it's about 90% of the people in America are going to say they don't have enough money for life coaches. That's a lot of people, and that's my target audience. That's why I do a lot of the things that I do for free, a lot of videos and stuff like that, because it's like I want that large number, okay? And we gotta help. So find yourself a coach. Learn how to find what you want to do with your life, because that's how you're gonna do it. You have to be a very special individual to sit there and just figure it out on your own. But why? Find a life coach, contact one of us, go to the Neo Positivity group, find a coach, find out what you want to do with your life, and then once you start to do that, it'll be like before you were in the ocean going against the waves, or you were standing still. It'll feel like you're going with the waves. Life will push you in that direction. You'll feel better. You'll have balance. Everything in your life will just come together. It's possible. Most people think it's not because it didn't happen for their parents, it didn't happen for their friends, or they're listening to the ego and telling them that it's never going to happen. It can happen. It can happen. Chani, we're coming up on the end of the program. Why don't you tell everybody how they can find you, Skype, you work through Skype, or, give us all that information.
Okay, cool. So I actually have an online program that I'm going to be soon. It's going to be 3 months. And I'm taking people for pre-enrollment, and the program's going to be actually opening up in a few months from now.
Okay.
So I'm very excited. You can find me on Facebook. It is Chani Mehlman Life Coaching, and that's also my website is chanimehlman.com, where you can make sure to find me.
There you go, Chani Mehlman. She's a great source of information. She traveled the globe. She's learning. She studied addiction. She studied being a life coach. She's like a wealth of information, and you should take advantage of that. Okay, you should definitely take advantage of that. Thank you, Chani, for coming on the show, gracing us with your presence. As always, everybody, I am Nehemiah Davila, aka Neo Positivity. Of course, check me out on Facebook and neopositivity.com. And remember, thoughts become things. What you focus on the most in life will grow. So no complaining. No complaining. Only focus on the greatness. Only focus on your all-star performances and get more all-star performances. This is Off the Bench, only on RVN TV, airing weeknights at 8, 7 Central. I'll see you next time. Good day.